van Wilder is going to be forced to lead out, and that's exactly what he does. Can Soudal Quickstep get 2 wins in a row? I think Felix Groschartner might be looking the best of these three, but no, Ilan van Wilder's going to do it. Soudal Quickstep, 2 in a row. I should go back to last year's overall result, by the way, just to fill you in on how we're arriving at this point in the 38th edition of the Deutschland Tour. 1 year ago, it was Adam Yates of Ineos who was the winner, ahead of Pello Bilbao and Ruben Guerrero. Yates and Guerrero not here, but Pello Bilbao is riding for Bahrain victorious, as is Georg Zimmermann, who was 4th on that occasion, the young German. Lots expected of him this week. He's been well talked up in the German press, Georg Zimmermann, riding for Entomarché Circus. The 25-year-old, was, as I say, 4th last year. So that's an interesting one. So Niels Pollitt and Ethan Hayter just having dropped back to the car, coming back into the fold in the back of the field here. It's very much a back-ended stage, this, today. It's been fairly casual from the peloton, despite the fact the gap for our breakaway was never really above 5.5 minutes anyway. But they've also had to cope with a bit of rain, a lot of going back, changing kit, despite the fact that it's warm, 27, 28 degrees still. Taking a westerly sweep, which crosses the Saaz River and goes right the way around its hook. It has an interesting sort of tight eddy of a turn to the west of Merzig, and the race route goes around that, round the hills that surround the south of it, the beautiful forests along the edge, the very edge, the southern edge of the River Saar, and then they come back across the river itself, looping around Besseringen, those of you that know it. Then they go along the edge of the Saar and across our finish line for the first time. Then they have these 2 10-kilometre laps. But this peloton, as we look at them now, not far from our finishing circuit. It's just they've got to add on another bit of what sort of 20k loop to bring themselves around to our finishing line. Ethan Vernon looking relaxed, calm and in control in that now quite recognisable, almost pre-Vuelta style red leaders jersey. That's exactly what it is, isn't it? Well, I mentioned there he is, just about to be fed back in. So this is crossing the Saar River. They're going from Mettlach over to Kirchingen. They go through Kirchingen. They've got a snaky road coming out of it as well. And I think we're going into some narrower roads as well into this next climb. And once again, our breakaway is onto that next climb. And Harm van Hoeke is looking to see whether he can get the next set of points as he did at the first one. I'm sorry I didn't bring you the classification of that last climb. I will give it to you officially when I have it. Just under 4 kilometres in length, this climb. Average gradient, just under 5%. So not a killer by any means. You can see it's mostly a seated climb and a quite big wide road as well. And there is Rick Zabel churning a monster gear. Hello. Hello. Harm van Hoeke's had a no, sorry, I do apologise. Looking up at my screen, that is the back end. That's the back end of our peloton there. Wow. Things are really speeding up at the front. You can see the damage it's doing at the back as well. Mostly riders from our UCI Continental teams there too, and this is all under the pressure being laid on by Israel Premier Tech. To what end, though? That is the interesting question. Here comes Dylan Teuns. Now, that's the man that I think this was about. Dylan Teuns has been sitting off. He was the only one of the Israel Premier Tech riders who was sitting off there and waiting. We've just seen him speed up a little bit as his team fan out on the front. I'm not sure what that to one line, but strung out into one line in places. One rider, by the way, I noticed paying very close attention to the front is Uno X's Rasmus Tiller, the Norwegian. Well, look out for him, not least because Alexander Kristoff is now out of the race. Dries Devenens, one of the most experienced riders now at Soudal Quickstep, definitely. Well, I say one of, if not the most experienced rider at the age of 40. Well, here come these three, just about to get caught. Vincent John, Oliver Mathis, and Silas Koch, the three Germans who are just about to be caught by the Israel Premier Tech-led peloton, leaving just Harm van Hoeke out there. And where is he? We should be able to see him at some point as well. And they are not taking any prisoners at the moment, Israel Premier Tech. Mason Holliman goes back to the front again. You can see how hard they're having to work. Nick Schultz also involved. Simon Clark has done his job, the Australian, and dropped off. So UAE Team Emirates with Pascal Ackermann now having moved up much closer to the front. Brandon McNulty too, the American. He was off last in yesterday's prologue. He finished yesterday too, Brandon McNulty, because it wasn't as highly as we might have expected. You'll forgive me while I scan down. I think he's that much further down that I've got to try and find where he is. '28th. Even then, of course, he was only touching the faces of the riders at the front. Harry Sweeney is the Lotto Destiny rider there with his glasses in his helmet. Anthony Turgy moving up with the clear glasses on in the white jersey of Total Energies, the Frenchman for the French team. DSM moving up too as well. These are riders who are Trek, the Luxembourg champion. So we've got rolling attacks coming right now from riders who are sort of looking around, trying to suss out how the end game will be played out in this fascinating stage. It might yet come down to a bunch sprint finish. Let's see. Alex Kirch the next of those to go, but he then freewheels and just soft pedals a little bit, and the bunch is bubbling up. As I look down on them, there's riders still taking drinks, taking on a bit more food even with 12 kilometres to go, shaking out the legs too. It's all calmed down, and this might be a moment we look back on as we watch one or two riders also fastening their shoes in that peloton, where they might be thinking, maybe the Elleberg isn't quite hard enough. Maybe it is going to come down a little bit more if you consider that Phil Bauhaus and others are still in there. We know that Pascal Ackermann is out of it, but Mads Pedersen, so capable on so much terrain. And here comes Total Energies. This looks like Julien Simon by the looks of it. He has Mathieu Bergadeau with him. 3, 2 and 1 bonus seconds available at the top, don't forget. Julien Simon second wheel. Mathieu Bergadeau with the glasses off, the little dark goatee. Also sitting back there as well for them, Anthony Turgis. So there's the team that I said at the beginning of the day I haven't mentioned too much so far, Total Energies. And here they go. Julien Simon, base 2 as well. Van Wilder, by the looks of it now, takes over. But it's UAE Team Emirates chasing from behind. Brandon McNulty, the American, looked so good. And this is at the back end of the field now as well. Sam Bennett out. He won't be contesting the sprint. This is looking a much less likely big bunch sprint finish and a far more selective one. Pavel Sivakov has opened up the afterburners. The Frenchman for Ineos Grenadiers is really going for this now. Van Wilder sitting on though. He can do this because he is the teammate of Ethan Vernon, our race leader. The gap is the same back to that UAE Team Emirates-led peloton as well. In fact, I say peloton, that was close for Pavel Sivakov, nearly coming down actually off the back wheel of Van Wilder. Van Wilder is going to get the bonus seconds too. So after sitting on Sivakov, Sivakov shakes his head, but all's fair in love and war. And this is, well, open war at the front end of the peloton right now, because Sivakov, after doing all that work, is now going to get some company as well. UAE Team Emirates have numbers up there. Just looking to see who the other riders are coming across as we see that moment again for Pavel Sivakov. It has to be said, that was quite some save by the Frenchman. And Felix Großschartner sort of steadily rode his way across. There is our race leader, Ethan Vernon, in the red jersey. Are we going to see him out of that? Don't forget on the finish line there are 10, 6 and 4 bonus seconds. Now, at this stage in the race, after yesterday's very, very short prologue, a 10-second bonus is going to be incredibly decisive. But will it have more added to it if it's these three who go to the finish? They'll work well together, these three, by the looks of it. There seemed to be a little bit of uncertainty from Milan van Wilder. Don't forget, he is the teammate of our race leader, Ethan Vernon, but I'm suspecting from the way he's riding, he might have been given the go-ahead to get on with this, shuffling that red jersey from one team member to another. Pavel Sivakov does come through. He goes to the left-hand side of the road, watching, though, keeping an eye on Van Wilder. And all the while behind, Felix Großschartner looking twitchy. I'm not sure we're going to see Großschartner come through to the front again until he tries something. He also has the sense to look back. They cannot afford to mess around too much, these three, because Pale Bilbao, Dylan Turns, Kevin Van Marker, all three of them pack a decent sprint from a group like this. Here we go. Ilan van Wilder is going to be forced to lead out, and that's exactly what he does. Can Soudal Quickstep get 2 wins in a row? I think Felix Großschartner might be looking the best of these three, but no, Ilan van Wilder's going to do it. Soudal Quickstep, 2 in a row. And he gets the 10-second bonus. Van Wilder as well, and here comes the peloton. They're going to be led in by the looks of it by Danny van Poppel. Ethan Vernon up alongside him as well in that red jersey, but he'll be passing that on. The question is, will he be passing it on to a teammate? Well, by the looks of that, he will, because Ilan van Wilder was 7 seconds down after yesterday's prologue. He wins the stage, he takes the 10-second... I think they both knew to watch out for Van Wilder, because he had an awful lot of snap in those legs come the finish in the end. He had been canny as well, and he'd been able to be canny in that leading group because, of course, he is a teammate of the former race leader, Ethan Vernon. That red jersey is going right in the direction of Soudal Quickstep. Ilan van Wilder, as I say, one of those riders that is firmly part of Patrick Le